pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving right along, 4.01, Superintendent's Report.
Mr. Lokema, I believe we have the Code of Conduct.
Not yet.
I'm not sure what that means.
Next agenda item, 4.02.
Go to 4.02, Mike.
4.02, Superintendent Spotlight on Program Presentation of Certificates.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, President McFarland. I would like to welcome everyone here this evening to our board meeting. I did want to thank our community for their thoughts and prayers. I was not here at the last board meeting. My mother had a medical emergency and I had to go up to Buffalo for a few days, but I appreciate your thoughts and prayers. She is home, she's recovering, she's doing much better. But I did want to thank our community for supporting our budget and our capital project. And we look forward to continuing to work with you in collaboration to make our district the best that it can possibly be. So I wanted to state that. Also this evening, Spotlight on Program, we have Trustee Capillari who is here. Not only is he a board trustee, but he's also a veteran, and we thank him for his service, as well as other members from the veterans that are here this evening. Trustee Capillari, you indicated that the veterans wanted to present I believe a pin?
That's correct, a certificate and another item.
Very good. So at this point, I will turn it over to Trustee Capillari. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, board and esteemed students from John Jay. A few months back, we had this amazing opportunity of engaging a group of John Jay students who were working on doing a veterans outreach research in which they reached out on their own to consult with various veterans, much like myself, about a whole range of services and try to get an assessment kind of firsthand from vets throughout the community, didn't matter what town or what area. Personally, this was both refreshing and definitely out of the box. So I say this to you tonight, both as a trustee, as a community member, and as a veteran of a foreign war. Thank you. Oftentimes, a lot of this stuff gets unnoticed, and to see an enthused group of young folks interested in this is something that I can't articulate in the words. In order to kind of get the full effect, we brought our commander, our quartermaster, and one of our area managers from our Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5913 here in Wappingers to kind of come up. We want to present certificates to you. But before we hand them out, I want to read a little something from it. This certificate is going to be coming from our post on behalf of a Veterans Research Project for the New York State Seal of Civic Readiness. It's going to specifically read for your outstanding support of our nation's veterans and outreach efforts to better understand our unique challenges. Your efforts are greatly appreciated by Post 5913, Veterans of Foreign Wars in the local community. I cannot think of a more rewarding attempt to kind of connect and bring things together. So if you could please come up here, and I will ask our commander and our quartermaster and manager to present these certificates. We're going to call these names in any order. If If our commander, Mike Riley, could read the first name.
Madison Anderson.
We also have district certificates for these students that Dr. Monk is handing out.
The next student,
Hey, Allison Laubenheimer.
thank you so much.
Allison, thank you. Thank you for supporting our next one. There you are. Thank you very much.
Ethan Mulligan.
Molly
Wiggins. The first of two Emmas is Emma Andriello. And last but not least is Emma Henson. As you all sit down, before you all go back to your seats, we just want to say thank you. Thank you on behalf of this. This research is going to be very important for years to come, and hopefully you've paved the way for future. On behalf of that, we salute you.
Board of Education would like to also thank you again for you participating in this program. Thank you, everyone. All right, 4.01 Superintendent's Report.
Mr. Lokema. I believe it is now time for the Code of Conduct presentation by our Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Information Systems, Mr. Darren Lokema.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
To open it first.
The, okay, open,
I'm not doing the public hearing yet. He's doing his presentation, then we're doing the public hearing.
Unless you want to flip it.
Just tell me what to do, that's all.
Because it's got the presentation of 5.2.
You want to go to 5.01?
5.01.
Okay, 5.01, public hearing on Code of Conduct and Attendance Policy.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby open the public hearing on the Code of Conduct and Attendance Policy at this time.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Trustee Johnson, second by Mr. Lumiere. Any discussions? We all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. This will be brief. This is, of course, our annual process where we review our upcoming school year's draft code of conduct, as well as any changes made to the attendance policy, which is required by education law. We do this every year. Since having provided and put on our website the proposed draft legislation, or the proposed draft code of conduct, we received updated information about the new New York State legislation regarding the bell-to-bell smartphone ban in schools. So what that legislation actually is doing is requiring us to create a new cell phone policy separate from the code of conduct. The policy committee had met and we sort of agreed that it would be a separate policy. Typically what happens in the past is our code of conduct has dictated the terms in which we will be allowing or disallowing cell phone usage in schools. And so what this bullet is basically saying is that during the course of this 30-day public comment period, we will be amending the code of conduct draft that we have set up for 25-26 to include language that's basically referring to the policy. So there'll be updated information about that as it comes out. We will be utilizing the language that was in the recommended draft that was shared on our website and with the board. We're using language from that in our cell phone policy. So it's kind of like one is going to inform the other, but then we're going to have the code of conduct final draft reference the new policy that is being considered. So more information will be coming on the bell-to-bell smartphone ban and the language associated with that. There was one addition requested in our draft regarding dress code. I guess there are a number of students who are, using blankets as a coverall of some sort. And so we were asked to put the language in saying no blankets are allowed to be worn during the school day unless at the discretion of building administration. This does not include using blankets during after-school activities as appropriate. It's just a matter of people coming in and putting them over their head and wearing them all over. That has been deemed somewhat of a distraction. There should have been another bullet on this presentation. I apologize. It basically says there's going to be minor updates to our infraction list, which is noted on the district code of conduct draft on our website. Basically, there's going to be a couple of infractions that were already in place, like threatening a student, just adding some extra language to that to say inclusive of online as an example. Threatening a student is now going to say threatening a student, parentheses, physical, verbal, or online. Same thing with threatening an employee. It already said physical or verbal. We're going to add or online. And then one new infraction, refusal of ISS/ISR. So we've noticed a couple of instances, I guess, in the buildings where students have refused. They said, I'm not going to ISR, you can't make me. And so it just becomes this, well, let's put in the policy what we would like to do to address that from a disciplinary perspective. So just interesting that those things have come up and the buildings are asking that we include that in our code of conduct. That's it. There's a little bit of language about how we're going to reference updates to the attendance policy, which we always have in our code of conduct. We're going to reference that with the updated changes that are being requested there. So in our draft attendance policy review, which is also required on an annual basis, we just want to make note of there's one section in the middle of the policy that talks about intervention strategies to improve school attendance. We had building administration attend the policy committee meeting when looking at this policy review and just sort of referred to what is present day practice. And so we removed some of the things that are no longer being practiced for things like attendance, like filing a PINS petition. The building principals have noted that PINS does not, and nor does youth services really address attendance issues as far as they'll address students not coming to school at all, but not ones with chronic absenteeism, for example, but ones that are related to family-related matters. So I'm just looking at what the district does on a day-to-day or what they could do and letting the attendance policy reflect that practice. So that is pretty much the only, there's a little bit of extra, but it's right below that line talking about, continued attendance issues may result in disciplinary actions at the discretion of the building principal. Just adding a couple of extra words into the sentence to hopefully make it a little bit more clear. And then that is the end of the recommendations for the attendance policy for the 25-26 school year. So, and the conclusion of my report.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 5.03, community input on code of conduct and attendance policies.
Nobody signed up.
None? Thank you. 5.04, motion to close public hearing and resume regular board meeting. Motion?
I gotta read. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby close the public hearing and resume the board meeting.
Motion, Keith Odoms, second by Peggy Kellen. All in favor? Aye, unanimous, thank you. Now we're going back to 4.01. Alberta,
I don't think he has any other comments.
do you have anything else?
I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
All right, moving right along, 6.01, public comments on agenda items. Anyone signed in for public comments? No, so we will waive the reading. 6.02, communication announcements received by the Board of Education. Anyone have any comments? Let's start with Peggy Kellen, please.
Art in the Park was very impressive, even though they had to close it and take down the artwork shortly after 11 o'clock because of the rain, which of course would ruin their artwork. But it was very impressive. What I was able to see before it closed was again an indication of what good work our students are doing, and the way the teachers put up cards to explain how these different projects related to the curriculum, the techniques they were learning, the art appreciation to learn about famous artists, and to relate it to the whole curriculum in each grade. It was very impressive. There was also the History Honor Society at John Jay, the Business Honor Society at John Jay, the Memorial Day commemoration at RCK, Business Honors at RCK, Art Honors at RCK, the Junior Honor Society at Wappingers Junior High, and the Project Learning activities at the Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital. Very impressive. The students have been expanding the number of schools and students involved. In the fourth year of this project, they came up with a mini golf hole, and we got to try it out.
Did you make it?
You don't know, ask how many strokes it took me.
Trustee Miggets.
Yes, first, I'd like to congratulate the students who were inducted into the RCK Art Honor Society. As Trustee Callan mentioned, there was a problem with weather on the day of Art in the Park, and the day of the Art Honor Society inductions was one of the opportunities that's being held indoors to allow the public to appreciate student art, and the students were able to share their artwork with us on that day. There's also been a lot going on recently with spring sports. I'd like to congratulate the Royce Ketchum girls softball team on an outstanding season, even though their season came a little short this weekend. They played amazing games all season. Also, the Wappingers girls lacrosse team, I was there Friday night to watch their come from behind exciting victory over North Rockland. They will be playing tomorrow in the Section 1 finals down in Lakeland, if anyone is interested in going. I was also on hand on Saturday to watch the Royce Ketchum boys baseball team win the Section 1 championship down at SUNY Purchase, and for the fourth consecutive year. And they will be playing in a sub-regional game in Waverly this Thursday against Elmira. And I'm going to leave the big event for you, Mrs. Johnson.
Trustee Johnson.
So I would like to say that, it was a great honor to be able to speak at the Art Honor Society and the Wappingers Junior National Honor Society, to be able to say a few words to our amazing students. And as Trustee Callan pointed out, our Mid-Hudson Regional Medical Center with our project-based learning, that program started out with 3 schools and about 80 students. This year we had, I believe it was 9 schools, 370 students. I was going to go 380, but it's 370. And every year these kids, the ideas are brought up by the little ones, and our high school students are amazing and are able to bring it to fruition. And it is donated to the pediatric ward, and it just blows my mind. As Trustee Megan said, our sports have been absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait till Thursday. Also, I was able to attend Brinkerhoff's Willy Wonka play the other day, which was absolutely fantastic. I love those kids. They're so cute. I love them when they're so small. And we've got some rising shiners there for our Emilio to get on to there. Now, my final one, which is our biggest one, our winner's circle. Can I just say that it was by far still my favorite program. I love that we teach our children about reading and writing and science and math, but wow, the looks on these kids' faces and the looks on their instructors' faces, it has brought such joy to everybody around. And I cannot say how grateful I am that we've brought this program to this district. We're lucky. We have 2 cars. We have 2 amazing build teams, 2 amazing marketing teams. We did not win this year, although I think we should have, but that's my personal opinion. Both of our teams overcame so many obstacles and absolutely built 2 incredibly working cars that I had the thrill of being driven around the racetrack in one of them, and Trustee Miggett's in the other. And it was definitely, I can't wait for next year. I can't wait to see what these kids do. And I would like to give a shout out to Director Schouten and to also Assistant Director Joe Luzzi, because they really, really put a lot of heart and soul into this, and to our amazing instructors, our principals that give so much time, and to all of the people that donated, because these kids have to get donations to do the extras on these cars. And I want to thank our community for supporting our students in this program, because everybody that I've shown this program to out of state, and all my family and friends all over the United States, they want to know how they can get that program in their state and in their district. And I said, they can't have it, it's ours. So, and I thank Pius and the Winner's Circle for all of their amazing work.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Odom, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Bonnie King and the music department, arts department, for all of the students, the Wappinger students that participated in the New York State NYSSMA in arts. They had their tests, as you would say, for music and singing a few weeks ago. And it's just as hard as playing a sport. They have to do their regular homework and then continue to practice their art or singing and sit in front of an adjudicator and be graded. And you can see the passion once they finished and walked in the hallway. Either they did well, or even if they made one mistake, perfect or one mistake, you can see their passion. So congratulations to all the students who participated in this NYSSMA. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Trustee Cavallari.
If I may go back just to the winner's circle for a moment. While we talk about a lot of the subjects, it is through the winner's circle that we see theory go into concept. It's very easy for folks to describe their successes, and it takes an incredible amount of courage and fortitude and self-awareness to discuss challenges and how to work and overcome them. And one of the most important parts we think of this is that these teams come together from very segmented elements, and they kind of are forced to work together to overcome a common challenge. And we're completely blown away by how young and self-aware they are, because in this day and age of social media, where everything is nothing but net and the image and portrayal, we actually found it refreshing to hear them talk about the early challenges they faced. And it's not just the Wappinger schools. It was the students all together. And we're paying close attention to the other students from the other schools when some of our folks were up there talking and they were nodding their heads. Therefore, learning how to problem solve and overcome these types of issues is more of a life skill and something that's going to serve them quite well. We're excited for what awaits next year and the expansion of the program. We'd be remiss if we didn't say anything.
Thank you, Trustee Capillari. Trustee Lumia.
As was mentioned before, I'd like to thank all the teachers for all the hard work they did in setting up for Art in the Park. The amount of work that these teachers have to do, it's incredible. It's unfortunate that the rain dampened the situation, but I'd like to thank the parents who were very helpful in taking all those art down. A lot of them really came and and a lot of the art was damaged, unfortunately. And also, I'd like to thank the custodians, the buildings and grounds, for all the work they did before and after. And I'd like to congratulate the musicians. The musicians you have to listen to these kids. They're professionals. First of all, they're professionals. I really enjoyed it. And it's too bad that it was cut short because of the rain, but it seemed like every year we have a problem with rain every year. But again, the work that goes into put that event prior to it, it's just incredible. So I'd like to thank everyone involved.
Thank you, Trustee Lumia. You didn't get a chance to play with them, did you? Which you usually do. Anyone else? Thank you very much for all the input. And I myself attended the project-based learning up in the hospital. And that's what keeps me on this board, things like that, all right? When I see these students progress and advance and work as a team to accomplish a goal, that's what keeps me on this board. So I just want to thank all these students and all the parents that support these students. Thank you. Moving right along, 7.01, Special Education Annual Report, Mr. Richard Zip. I'm sorry, before we do that, did you have any comments? No comments? Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Great, thank you. We'll give it a moment here for the video to come on. Here comes Art. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, thank you. So this is the 24-25 yearly presentation on the state of special education in the Wappinger Central School District. I'll make sure I've got my slides here going in the right direction. So this is the team currently. I listed all the assistant directors. As you all can see, over the last several years, we've added many assistant directors. Currently, right now, we have 10. And just going back when I started my career, I think there were 6 assistant directors and 1 director of special education. So a lot of improvements to the team over the last 10 years. I would say especially over the last 5, which is a good thing, because something that we've talked about over the last couple of years is the impact of COVID, learning loss, and the mental health issues, and how the special education population has risen. So clearly, we have a lot of students to serve, and having the additional capacity with the additional assistant directors is really, really helpful. This is hot off the presses. I got it from the state data site, and I listed out at the bottom, so if anybody wants to take a look at that and see some of the complete details, they can. This came out last week, and just so everyone is aware, given the data pulled from the state, it's always a year behind lag to make sure everything is accounted for. What you'll see, which is probably the first time in a while, is an increase in our overall population. So for special education purposes, we include everybody who comes through our schools, which we've talked about over the course of the year is roughly 10,500, as well as all the students who attend all the non-public schools within the Wappingers catchment area. So for example, St. Dennis Columba, same areas of Wappingers, they could have students from other school districts, but if they're within our catchment area, we could potentially service them with what's called an IESP, an Individual Education Services Plan. And because of that, that total population is what our classification rate is based on. And as you see on top right there, for 23-24, classification rate was 17.6%. That is below the state average, but clearly you can see that line that has been steadily going up, and that's something we have been talking about over the last several years, which is probably the direct, well, not probably, it is the direct impact of COVID over the last 5 years. Once again, I put some numbers up there to give people a sense of history here. The 24-25 numbers are all estimates based upon some of the data, so I kept our 11,510 consistent. I pulled from IEP Direct roughly how many classified students we had as of the Beds Day back in October 24, roughly 2,111. So for this time next year, when we have our state report, there's a good chance the classification rate will be somewhere around 18.3%. But if you take a look at the district over the years, although classification rate has gone up, if you go back to 2010, 2011, there were well over 1,800 students classified. So for a big district this large, we've had fairly large numbers of special education students. It's waxed and waned roughly, plus or minus 100 students. But clearly since COVID, that number has gone up and has stayed close to 2,000. And clearly this year, over 2,111. Usually in the last couple of years, I showed you a whole bar graph with respect to classifications in the district. I took a look at these, so I took out the 3 major classification categories and kind of put it on a separate slide. If you take a look at these 13, 9 of them, they're fairly consistent. They show some increase. Clearly, autism has been a diagnosis and classification on the rise in the last, I'd say 10, 15 years. And clearly in our data, that's probably the largest driver. And it increased with these 9 classification categories, and the rest have stayed fairly consistent. If you take a look at these next 3, these are the 3, I think, since the last 5 years when COVID has hit, we've seen the biggest impact. Most of the students now are coming in as speech and language impaired, as well as other health impaired. Speech and language makes sense. We talked back at COVID. Lack of instruction, students being on Chromebooks for instruction, decrease in providers of speech, especially at the preschool level. So we're seeing that trickle into school, and we've been seeing that trickle into the schools over the last, I'd say, 5 years. Other health impaired is kind of a catch-all category. Students with ADHD and also the behavioral dysregulation disorders would fall into that category. That's something we've also seen an increase in across the district as well as the county. Our students coming in, most of our younger students, not having that ability to self-regulate as we would expect. And given a diagnosis like ADHD, they would be classified as other health impaired. So those are the 3 categories that have shown the most increase over the last 5 years that have taken the classification rate up over 2,000 students. These are our graduation rates going back to last year. So total is 75%. It is above the state average. If you take a look at that, we have most of our students have been graduating with a Regents diploma. This year, and I think next year, we still have students who may have some of the special appeals vis-a-vis COVID. So they're in that mix as well. But most of our students graduating are graduating with a Regents diploma. And the next slide will also talk about the pathway that is a typical choice for students who are classified through special ed. Once again, these numbers have remained fairly consistent. We've stayed in a 75 to 80% graduation rate over the last several years, and as indicated, it is above the state average. As far as the pathways go, most students take the humanities pathway, and that's typically going to be one English, one math, one science, and one social studies, and then either one more social studies and/or science. So once again, you take those 6 tests, you need 5. It's going to be 4 plus 1. Some of them do take the CDOS, which you could have a CDOS plus 1, but you can see for most of us at the high school level, they are taking the humanities pathway, and that's the most common one for our students with disabilities. This slide I've had in the presentation for the last 10 years. This is an important one too. So once again, for a district this size, Wappingers is not disproportional with respect to race and ethnic background and suspension rates, identification and special education, as well as specific disability categories. So for a district this size, to be as large as we are, and to do as well as we do with this particular category over a decade, really talks a lot about our processes and how we'll work together to make sure we do not disproportionately suspend students and to refer them to special education and or classify them. So this is a particularly good data point to have for a district. We should all be proud of the work all the assistant directors as well as all the teachers put to make sure these things have stayed consistent over a decade. A couple of pieces I took off the state report. With respect to graduation rate, we didn't meet it. We also met the target with respect to dropout rate, so our dropout rate was fairly low and below the state target. We met the state target with respect to proficiency rate for 4th and 8th grade ELA math assessments. However, at the high school level, we did not meet the proficiency rates with respect to the algebra regions and or the English regions. So once again, doing well, 3 to 8, coming to high school, not quite where we need to be. There we go. And then take a look at the programs. Let me just go back one, make sure that wasn't a duplicate slide. Reporting. Yeah, I think it's a duplicate slide, right? Yeah, okay. Take a look at the programs we have across the buildings. So over the years, we have increased our offerings across the buildings. This is what we have through all our schools and what they offer. All of elementary schools except for 3 offer an integrated co-12 class ICT. The 3 that don't are Oak Grove, Evans, and Fishkill. They have complete self-contained continuums. Most of our other schools have a combination of ICT and self-contained and or just ICT. Now the buildings that have a combination at the K-6 level of ICT and self-contained are Myers, Gayhead, Vassar-Kinry, and Fishkill Plains. So they tend to be where we keep our programs and house all of them. And then clearly once we get to both the secondary level, both Wappingers Junior High School, Van Wyck, as well as Royce and Ketchum and John Jay have the complete offering. So resource room, integrated co-12 classes, as well as several different options for students who need direct explicit instruction vis-a-vis a self-contained program. And this is just a different way to kind of extrapolate the data, taking a look at the classes, once again, K to 6, and what they have. We are adding next year, that'll be on one of the final slides here today, are self-contained language-based classrooms at Vassar and Brinkerhoff. So those are 2 additional classes that we're going to add. Gayhead is where the self-contained language-based class first originated from. We did expand that to Kinry, so we have a program to feed into the north and a program to feed into the south. And we expanded that this year to have a class at Brink and a class at Vassar to bring that kind of programming to more students, and once again, students that feed both the north and south feeder patterns. And these are the programs we have, same kind of breakout, secondary through the junior high schools and the high schools. So these are the breakdowns of costs, which have gone up slightly over the last several years. Right now, we're looking at, I think, 23 million total. I can see that real quick. Thank you. I got my glasses on. I can't work it in the corner. Yeah. Yeah, the 24 million, 24, for 23, 24, total cost classified students is 24 million and $44,000. I took a look back at some previous presentations over the last several years. I think going back to my first one, 15, 16, I think the per student cost was roughly $17,000, $18,000. So you can see as things are going over time, costs are going up, which is supposed to go up just to take it, just to deal with just typical rate of inflation and things of that nature. But I think we do a good job. Like I said, your classification rate has gone up, I think, in response to the COVID pandemic and its aftermaths. We are below the state average. We're hitting our graduation rates, but I think by and large, things are going in the right direction and we're definitely taking care of our students. Okay. The diploma options for students have remained the same. I did put down the COVID appeals process because we do have students this year and probably next year, a couple of them who still have a couple of those special appeals is going to be part of their graduation requirements. So they'll linger, although it expired August of 23. There are students this year who are sophomores at that time period who probably have some of those to help support their graduation requirements, as well as freshmen. So next year will probably be the last year we will see students graduate from Wappingers with any kind of special appeal, probably go back to their freshman year. And that will officially be done and not be a factor. Everything else has always existed, so we have the Regents diploma credit requirements. Students who are classified inclusive students with Section 504 plans have what's called a safety net option. Any score between 55 and 64 in a Regents exam counts towards the local diploma. The compensatory safety net option also exists, so for science and history, should someone get a score between 45 and 54, right, maybe that's just their area of weakness, as long as they have a passing score of 65 or higher on any other Regents exam, that passing score can tether that weaker score and have it count towards a local diploma. So many options for our students with disabilities to achieve success here at the high school, and clearly the 4+1 pathway. What I want to talk about is something new that came out this year, and it's exemptions for major life events, excuse me. And this is inclusive for all students, general ed students, students with disabilities, IEPs, 504 plans, Ls, you name it. And it came out from the state this year. So I added it here as a slide because clearly it's going to give students and families some additional leverage should their children be going through major life events. So I put a couple of examples up there that you could be exempt from an exam. You're going through something traumatic, maybe your house burned down. We have had students who've had house fires, and clearly, given their ability to perform on a state exam, which only happens a couple of times a year, 3 times a year, may impact their ability to graduate. So given that major life event, they could apply for an exemption and be granted one from that particular exam. We are going to encourage everybody to take the test because clearly it's in their best interest to take the test and to pass and do well on their own 2 feet, right? And to walk out of high school. However, for students who do have something traumatic happen in their lives, death of a family member, homelessness, house fire, maybe some kind of illness they're dealing with, it's nice to know now they have options that should they, earn their credits and do well during the school year and not have to pass an exam that maybe they're just not ready for at that kind of level. They have an ability to appeal that and see if an exemption is granted. For students with disabilities who do not earn high school diplomas, the New York State Career Development Occupational Studies, CDOS, still exists, as well as a Skills and Achievement Commencement certification. Those have been in place for more than the last 15 years, and they continue to remain. So for many of our students who stay until the age 21 and or in residential programs, they'll earn one of those 2 certifications upon leaving high school. It is not an official diploma, so I want to make sure everybody's aware it's not a New York State license, recognized diploma, but it does recognize and award them their own particular goal advancement and attainment vis-a-vis their IEPs. So for students who don't earn diplomas, they would be awarded one of those certificates. As far as maximizing resources, here I come to the end of the presentation, kind of putting a couple of things together. This year has been year one of the Recovers Mental Health Grant. I can say it's been a real success story. We've got 5 student support services individuals in the district, 3 school psychologists, 2 social workers. We have 2 district behaviorists from a contracting agency that we partner with through the grant. The grant provided for additional CAPE counsel we have in Van Wyck Junior High School, as well as some presentations through community organizations to the students. So I can say the grant staff are well embedded and are impacting hundreds of students and potentially thousands of encounters. So clearly the grant, as far as it is far exceeding its expectations so far. Something else that is new that is not related to the grant is for the first time this year, the district, as I mentioned before, has partnered with Open Doors Family Services of Westchester County and at Wappingers Junior High School this past February, we opened up our first school-based mental health clinic. That's going really well. It's only been around for a couple of months, but the social worker in that program has a caseload of students. They will be working through the summertime supporting families and students in our community. And that's looking to really next year start the year running with a nice cadre of students and families to support. And so far, the feedback from the team at Wappingers has been extremely positive. And once that one gets really up and running, the goal is going to be to bring additional school-based clinics to other buildings within the school district. As far as next year and even this year, once again, something I wanted to point out, this year we added from the district, a school social worker and a school psychologist. So besides the 5 we've hired through the Recovers grant, we've added 2 ourselves in-house. And as far as next year, as I said before, adding a self-contained language-based program at Kinnery and Brinkerhoff, and expanding ICT classes across the district, and that's going to happen in response to student need. A lot of that is driven through the annual review process, as well as who may or may not move in the summertime. So once again, given the state regs, you can't start an ICT class off with more than 12 students. And depending on movement over the summertime, some of those programs and classes may change, and it may require the district to hire some additional staff. So that's an ongoing issue. It's kind of fluid, but there's additional ICT teachers being hired currently vis-a-vis the 25-26 budget. And I think that's it. Questions?
Thank you for all that information, Mr. Zip. I'm going to have some discussion here, so.
Before we do that, I know we're down to 2 minutes. Can I ask for 5 additional minutes for questions?
Everybody, motion for 5 additional minutes?
10.
10 minutes is the motion. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Questions? Mr. Lumia.
I have 2 questions, Mr. Zip.
What do you got?
In looking at the classification rate, what are the factors actually increasing the classification rate?
Okay, let me go back to that slide here so I can.
It's on page, I'm not sure.
First page. Yeah, so
it seems like it's every year it's going up and up and up. So what are the factors that drive the classification rate?
well, that was, as we talked about over the last several years, the impact of COVID on learning loss and student mental health, I would say has been the biggest driver. As well, that's one of the reasons why the district now contracts with the county for the provision of CPSE services, is that there's been a real dearth of providers in the county for our youngest children. So we've had students come into school who either weren't able to receive preschool services, special ed services, and/or got them but didn't get the full offering. And if you think about preschool, the whole point of preschool special education is to give students the services ahead of time, so when they come into school age, they don't need them. Most of our students get speech. So if you take 50 to 100 students preschool who aren't getting the services that they need, and they come into school age, well, now they're getting classified and getting services now. If you take a look at the impact of COVID as far as learning loss and the mental health issues, and I indicated the 2 classification categories that have increased the most are speech and language and OHI. And those are the 2 classification categories that capture most of those students. that's going to account for the increase in graduate classification rate. Another side thing as well, and that's why I added that one slide going back to the 2010, 2008, 2011 school year, with 1,835 students classified then, we're only about 200 to 300 more. So we're not talking, going back 15 years, we're not 600 students more. And if you take a look at the overall population, we've steadily decreased. So I would say over the last 15 years, we've probably lost 2,500 students overall as far as the population. So if you lose 2,500 students from your general population and you add 200 for classification, the classification rate's gonna go higher. It's gonna seem much higher. Whereas other districts, their overall population is fairly steady. So they vary by 10, 15, 20 students. It doesn't show up as much, but you can't lose 2,500 students, which to some districts is a whole district, and then increase in response to COVID. And that's where your classification rate rise is coming from.
The second question is, at the high school level, in 22, 23, we did not meet the state record in ELA and mathematics. What are we actually doing so that we do meet the target, the state target?
It's tough, right? So you have students who have disabilities, right? In ICT classes and the self-contained classes, and the goal is here is to give them exposure to the curriculum, and while at the same time expose them to Regents exams. So the good news is that with the safety net, they're passing and earning diplomas. What we have to do is try to bring them up to the same age non-disabled peers, so they have the same level of skills and achievement. So that's always something that we're always working on, to make sure that we can have some equity there. But that is a challenge, especially at the high school level, because you are dealing with individuals who come to the high school who have some level of disability that impacts their ability to access the curriculum, which is why they classify. And that's why the state gives us those safety nets. So although we're working hard to try to maximize their ability in Regents exams, it's got some room for wiggle.
Thank you.
Trustee Kellen?
Would you explain, for the edification of the public, what is the difference between the communications classes and the language-based classes?
Sure. The communication classes exist primarily at Vassar and Kinry, and those are self-contained programs. They're 12-1 programs that provide education services for some of our most impacted students. So students who are on the autism spectrum scale, but are not level 1. Level 1 students on the spectrum tend to be students who've got intact intellectual functioning. Students with level 2, level 3 tend to have intellectual limitations. They can have poor to no verbal ability. So I'm talking about students who are much more impacted. It could be individuals who may have Down syndrome, pervasive developmental disabilities, which impact all areas of functioning. So it's cognitive, speech, communication, socialization. So our communications classes really have probably the district's most challenging students who we try to keep and support in district. The self-contained language-based classes are for students who don't have that level of challenge, who we're hoping that we can give them a hard, good dose of embedded literacy and language skills in a self-contained setting to get them, after Kinnery and Gayhead, into an ICT class at their junior high schools. So it's really meant to be a language-rich, reading-heavy program to remediate those skills. So then when they go to high school, junior high school, they can actually get into an ICT program and be mainstream with their gen ed peers. Students in the communication classrooms typically don't go to those ICT programs in middle school, given the nature of their disabilities.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson?
Mr. Zip, in a lot of these numbers, we see here the 11,500 and the 2,111. These do not include our preschool numbers that are included in our budget, correct?
No, this is just school-age students.
So when we think about our special ed department that we have and the amount of work, we actually also service a lot of our preschool students, both in-house and out of facilities. So just something that people need to keep in mind, that number 11,500 and 2,000 do not include our preschool students, which are also part of our budget, but not part of these numbers because that's not what the state looks at. So it's just something that, even though it's not part of the same, it is still the same. And I just want people to remember that there is more to that budget than just the K-12, which definitely impacts those numbers, which would make those numbers much higher as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Meggett.
Yes, when we look at the other exit credentials for students with disabilities, with the CDOS, is that not a credential that students can also pair with a diploma? A student can get a local or a Regents or Advanced Regents diploma and pair it with a CDOS?
You can. So if you see here on this one slide, the 4+1 pathway at the bottom, I also added there, or complete all requirements for the CDOS credential. So you can, if you have a CDOS, and most of our students get that through attending BOCES, say, for the 2-year program, that counts as one of the exit exams. So you have to, at a minimum, take 1 English, 1 math, 1 science, 1 social studies, and you can use the CDOS as far as the 4+1, or another science, or another social studies. So you can see the students have many options, and that could be one of them.
Thank you, Trustee Meggett. Yes, Trustee Keith.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Which, if you can name just one, what resources that the board has provided that has helped you with with the challenges in the SED? And the second question is, what resource would you need from the board to continue or to improve the SED?
So I think going back to what Trustee Johnson indicated, going back to the preschool world, I think what the board did 2 years ago to contract with the county, and then for us to, that allows us then to have a subcontract to provide preschool students with speech, OT, and PT was really big. So you can see over the last year and a half how our reimbursable rate to the county has significantly increased. And that's because we're servicing more of our students and we're giving them, giving them exactly what the IEP needs on. For preschool students, and the goal of that is that they come into school not needing special ed. That's the whole point of CPSC. So that's probably the biggest thing I think the board did, appropriately so, was to simply realize to take care of our students because there was a dearth of providers at the county level, and that wasn't changing. So, and those students were coming into the schools, and without getting the services, they were being classified anyway. Right? So the question is going to be, why support them after the fact? Let's simply try to front load these services so when students come into kindergarten, they can access the curriculum as non-disabled peers and not need special services.
2-minute warning.
So I would say that was probably the biggest thing that the board has done to support that. And the other thing is just simply understanding that, as far as ICT programs through the annual process, those numbers change with students and programs. And as I indicated, you can't start the school year off in an ICT class with more than 12 students. You just can't. So when I go to the board and I say, listen, we've got some new entrants, we have to break up a section and add another teacher by regulations, I'm happy to say the board has always been supportive of that. None of you have raised any flags or concerns, because that's what we have to do. And if that's what we have to do for our students, we're all on the same page. So I'd say those 2 things together have been the most supportive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zepp. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the questions and answers. I think you've cleared up some issues that we went ahead in our mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eight 8.01 consent agenda resolutions. Does anybody want to pull anything from the agenda, consent agenda? No, I don't see anything.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated: 8.02, 8.03, 8.04, 8.05, 8.06, 8.07, 8.08, and 8.09.
Motion, Peggy Cullen, Trustee Caballero. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
I would like to thank the Board of Education for approving that personnel list, and I'm very pleased to congratulate and announce our new principal starting this summer at Vassar Road Elementary School, Miss Carolyn Fields. Could you give her a round of applause?
Congratulations.
Ms. Fields comes to our district with 11 years' experience as an elementary principal, and we look forward together working with her and her staff. So congratulations, Mrs. Fields.
Nine point oh one. That where we are. Approval to change name of Club Wappinger Junior High School.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the name change of the Wappingers Junior High School Pride Club to the Wappingers Junior High School Civility Pride Club as submitted on the attached club charter.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Lumia, second by Peggy Kellen. Any discussion? Cheryl?
Yes, I'd like to say that I'm very happy to see this name change because I remember the days when this club started as Civility Counts, which was an organization countering bullying in the junior high school. And I'm glad to see that as this organization has evolved and changed to meet the needs of more students at the high school, they're going back to their roots and keeping that element of civility in how students deal with each other central in their name.
Thank you very much for that information. Anyone else? So I have a first, I have a second. All in favor? Unanimous. 9.02, approval of club charter for RCK High School.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new first-year club charters at Roy C. Ketchum High School as submitted. Dance team and LDR SHIP.
Do I have a motion? Peggy Kellen, second by Virgil Capillari. Discussion? All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Thank you. Nine point oh three, approval of attendance New York State School Board Leadership in Education event.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve board members Peggy Kelland, Marie Johnson, and Cheryl Miggets to attend the 2025 NYSBA Leadership in Education event on August 1st and 2nd at the Desmond Hotel in Albany at the cost of $105 registration fee, member fee, and any reimbursement for hotel accommodations, 2 rooms, mileage travel, tolls, parking, and meals per board policy. Registration for the purposes of securing a hotel room is being requested at this time due to the limited availability of hotel accommodations. This resolution would permit the district clerk to register an attendee in order to gain access to the link for the room block.
Do I have a motion? Trustee Lumiere, second by Marie Johnson. Any discussion? I see none. Do I have a vote? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. 9.04, approval of professional learning plan.
Resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the list of professional learning plan committee members as detailed on page 4 of the plan, and be it further resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education does hereby approve the Wappinger Central School District Professional Learning Plan, PLP, as mandated by Commissioner's Regulations 102.2.
Do I have a motion? Trustee Kellen, second by Mr. Lumia. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. 9.05, first reading of policies.
If anybody has any questions regarding these policies, please direct them to Ms. Kellen before the next meeting so she can address them.
Request for additions to the agenda item 10.01. Any members have any additional items or discussions? I see none. Okay, no comments from the public, so I'll waive public comment reading. What are you guys doing over there? Throwing water bottles around? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby adjourn the June 2nd, 2025 Board of Education meeting. The time is now 8:35 p.m.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.